Welcome, everyone, to this fascinating deep dive into one of the most intriguing and high-value coins in recent numismatic history, the 2018 D1 cent, a coin that, due to a combination of errors, mistakes, and production anomalies, has captured the attention of collectors worldwide and is currently valued at an astonishing $11 million. A figure that might seem almost surreal for a coin whose face value is just 1 cent. Yet the story behind this coin demonstrates the fascinating intersection of human error, minting processes, rarity, and the passionate world of coin collecting. And so let's embark on a detailed exploration that will not only inform, but also entertain and engage every viewer who has ever wondered how a tiny piece of metal can transform from common currency to a multi-million-dollar collectible, starting with the basic facts. The 2018 D penny was produced at the Denver Mint and was part of the regular Lincoln cent series. Yet what sets this coin apart from millions of ordinary pennies struck in the same year is the series of anomalies that occurred during its production, anomalies that would eventually turn a mundane coin into a numismatic treasure, beginning with die errors, which are mistakes occurring when the engraved dies used to strike coins develop defects or are misaligned, leading to variations that are highly prized by collectors. In the case of the 2018 D penny, one of the most significant die errors identified was a misalignment that caused doubled features on the obverse, most notably on Abraham Lincoln's face and the lettering around the rim, giving rise to what experts refer to as a double die obverse. This type of error is particularly rare in modern pennies, especially from the Denver Mint, which typically has stringent quality control measures, and yet this anomaly managed to slip through, creating a coin that is visually distinct and immediately recognizable to those familiar with numismatics. But the story does not end there. As an addition to the double die obverse, certain 2018 D pennies also exhibit off-center strikes, which occur when the coin blank is not perfectly aligned within the coining press, resulting in a portion of the design being shifted and sometimes missing entirely, while off-center strikes are not unheard of. The combination of this defect with the double die effect in some specimens amplifies the rarity and desirability. Collectors often seek coins that combine multiple errors, as each additional anomaly exponentially increases the coin's uniqueness and potential value. Another factor contributing to the 2018 D penny's astronomical valuation is the phenomenon known as die cracks, which are fissures that develop in the die over time due to the immense pressure involved in striking coins. These cracks can imprint themselves onto the surface of the coin, producing raised lines or ridges that appear almost like fine veins across Lincoln's portrait or the reverse shield design. In certain 2018 D pennies, die cracks are particularly pronounced, forming distinctive patterns that not only differentiate individual coins, but also provide insight into the minting process and the stresses endured by the dies. Furthermore, the minting process itself occasionally led to planchet defects, planchets being the blank metal discs that are struck to create coins. A defective planchet could be improperly alloyed, contaminated, or slightly warped, which in turn affects how the design transfers during striking. In 2018 D pennies, collectors have identified planchets that were slightly off in composition or thickness, resulting in subtle but noticeable differences in weight, color, and luster, all of which add layers of collectability and contribute to the coin's high market value. The concept of rarity also plays a crucial role in understanding why a 2018 D penny could command $11 million. While millions of pennies were minted that year, only a tiny fraction exhibit the combination of errors and anomalies detailed above. And in the world of numismatics, rarity is a key driver of value. A coin might be technically common in terms of production numbers, but if only a handful exist with a particular error, collectors are willing to pay extraordinary sums to acquire them. Moreover, provenance or the documented ownership history of a coin can further enhance its value. If a 2018 D penny with such errors has been verified by reputable grading services, such as the Professional Coin Grading Service, PCGS, or Numismatic Guarantee Corporation, NGC, and has a well-documented chain of ownership or featured in major coin auctions, these factors create additional layers of desirability, contributing to record-breaking prices and intense competition among collectors. Another intriguing aspect is the psychological and speculative dynamics that surround rare error coins. Numismatic investors often recognize coins like the 2018 D penny as not merely collectibles. but also as alternative assets that can appreciate dramatically over time due to scarcity, historical significance, and collector demand. This speculative element can drive bidding in auctions to levels that seem inconceivable when compared to the face value of the coin. Yet the market has repeatedly demonstrated that rare error coins can reach millions precisely because the combination of artistry, human error, and scarcity creates a unique value proposition. The 2018 D penny also sparks curiosity because it belongs to the Lincoln Cent series, one of the longest-running and most culturally significant coin series in the United States. Lincoln Cents have been minted continuously since 1909, commemorating the 100th anniversary of Abraham Lincoln's birth. And over the decades, collectors have developed an almost obsessive attention to detail, scrutinizing minute variations in mint marks, die configurations, and metal composition. And within this highly scrutinized series, a modern coin like the 2018 D exhibiting significant errors stands out remarkably. Another point worth emphasizing is the role of expert verification and grading. Once an error coin like the 2018 D penny is discovered, it undergoes meticulous examination by experts to confirm the authenticity and categorize the type and severity of the error, grading scales from 1 to 70. With coins receiving high grades for condition, such as mint state 65 or above, dramatically influence market value. A pristine 2018 D penny with confirmed double die, off-center strike, and die crack could fetch astronomical prices due to the combination of rarity and perfect preservation, which explains how collectors arrived at valuations as high as $11 million. In addition to physical attributes, market dynamics play a substantial role. Coins with sensational stories often generate media attention, creating buzz that attracts more buyers and can escalate prices. The 2018 D penny, with its remarkable convergence of errors and modern minting rarity, became a talking point in numismatic circles and mainstream media, amplifying interest and demand. Beyond these tangible characteristics, there is also the element of human fascination with anomalies. People are drawn to things that defy expectations. A 1-cent coin that costs millions captures the imagination because it transforms an everyday object into a near-mythical artifact. The allure lies not only in potential financial gain, but also in the prestige and thrill of owning something extraordinary. Another dimension is the study of the minting process itself. By analyzing errors present in the 2018 D penny, experts gain insights into the intricacies and occasional vulnerabilities of modern coin production. From die, wear, and misalignment to planchet defects, each error tells a story about the manufacturing environment. The next 1993 1-cent USA coin around the world to an absolutely fascinating dive into one of the most intriguing and valuable pieces of modern American coinage. The 1993 1-cent, a coin that might look ordinary at first glance, but holds secrets and errors that have made it a veritable treasure in the numismatic world, commanding mind-boggling prices of up to $11 million for specimens in top condition, a value that can seem almost unbelievable for what is normally considered everyday pocket change. Yet as we delve into the history, production anomalies, and the intricate mistakes that occurred during its minting, it becomes clear why this humble cent has reached such stratospheric valuations. And as we explore, we will uncover the story behind the errors that make this coin so extraordinarily rare and sought after. Starting with the most famous and significant of the errors, the double die obverse, which occurs when the coins die. The tool used to stamp the design onto the blank metal planchets accidentally strikes the metal twice in slightly different positions, causing a doubling of certain design elements. And in the case of the 1993 cent, this doubling can be seen most prominently on the inscriptions, such as the words Liberty and I in God We Trust, as well as on the date itself, which may appear thicker, shadowed, or blurred in places where the doubling effect is strongest. An error that numismatists prize because it is a die-related anomaly that cannot be replicated, meaning each coin bearing this error represents a finite, limited piece of history. And this particular 1993 error is further compounded by variations in the degree of doubling, where some coins exhibit more subtle doubling that may require magnification to identify, while others are so pronounced that the doubling leaps out at the naked eye, creating a spectrum of rarity within the error type itself. And beyond the double die, there are also significant instances of die cracks and die breaks on some 1993 cents, where the metal dies themselves developed fissures during the minting process, leading to raised lines or irregularities on the coin surface that were not part of the original design. These cracks are fascinating because they provide a window into the industrial pressures and mechanical stresses of coin production. And collectors find them valuable not just for their aesthetic uniqueness, but also for the insight they give into the minting process. And then there are variations in the planchet composition itself, where a small fraction of 1993 cents were struck on planchets that had minor imperfections, differences in metal alloy, or slight thickness variations, making those coins heavier, lighter, or slightly off-color. And while these discrepancies might be considered errors in a quality control sense, to collectors, they represent rare anomalies that dramatically increase the coin's desirability and market value. And it is this confluence of multiple error types, double dies, die cracks, planchet irregularities that sets the 1993 cent apart from other pennies, elevating it from a simple monetary unit to a collectible artifact of extraordinary worth. And the scarcity of these error coins cannot be overstated, as only a small fraction of the millions of pennies minted in 1993 exhibit the significant errors that make them stand out, meaning that for every collector or investor hoping to acquire such a specimen, there is fierce competition, which naturally drives prices upward, with exceptional specimens commanding millions in auctions or private sales, often accompanied by certifications from professional grading services such as PCGS or NGC, which authenticate the error and assign a grade to the coin's condition, with pristine, uncirculated coins achieving the highest premiums. And the history of the 1993 penny's errors is also a fascinating tale because it reveals the intersection of human oversight and industrial complexity, highlighting how even in a highly mechanized and controlled environment such as the United States Mint, subtle misalignments, whereon dies and variations in metal composition can conspire to produce a coin of unparalleled rarity. And when we consider the broader numismatic context, we see that coins from the Lincoln Cent series have long been subject to intense scrutiny from collectors, with certain years, mints, and error types consistently commanding premiums far above face value. And the 1993 1 cent is no exception, particularly because the errors it exhibits are visually striking, historically verifiable, and exceedingly rare. And as collectors and enthusiasts have examined countless 1993 cents over the years, they have documented the variations meticulously, creating detailed records that help authenticate coins and identify which are genuine errors versus those that might be manipulated or artificially altered. And this careful documentation has further increased confidence among collectors, thereby reinforcing the high market value. And in addition to the double die and die cracks, there have been reports of off-center strikes on 1993 pennies, where the coin's design is not properly aligned with the metal planchet, leading to partial images, uneven rims, or portions of the design missing. Errors which are not only visually unusual, but also dramatically reduce the mintage of such coins, since off-center strikes are relatively rare occurrences in modern minting, and the degree of off-centering further influences value, with extreme misalignments often being the most sought after and fetching the highest prices at auction. And another category that adds to the 1993 penny's appeal is die rotation errors, where the obverse and reverse of the coin are misaligned relative to each other, so that when one side is held upright, the other appears rotated, an error that is subtle yet detectable, and which collectors prize for its rarity and technical curiosity. And when we combine all these factors, the double dies, die cracks, planchet anomalies, off-center strikes, and die rotation errors, it becomes apparent that the 1993 1 cent is not merely a coin, but a confluence of extraordinary circumstances, mechanical imperfection, and historical happenstance, all of which converge to create a piece that is both an object of beauty and an artifact of immense value. And the market for such coins is fueled not only by scarcity, but also by the stories these errors tell, as each coin carries with it the imprint of the minting process, the human decisions involved, and the tiny accidents that can transform a simple copper-plated zinc disc into a multi-million-dollar collectible. And as collectors share images and discoveries online, through social media, numismatic forums, and auction listings, the legend of the 1993 cent has grown, creating a feedback loop where awareness of the coin's rarity increases demand, which in turn elevates its value even further. And historically, Coins with similar error profiles have fetched extraordinary sums because collectors are willing to pay top dollar for verifiable, authenticated, visually striking anomalies. And when a coin has the added distinction of being a major modern rarity with a clear production error, as is the case with the 1993 penny, the market responds with record-breaking sales, sometimes exceeding even conservative estimates. And while some skeptics might question the astronomical values placed on such coins, the combination of limited supply, verifiable minting mistakes, aesthetic uniqueness, and historical intrigue makes the pricing rational within the context of high-end numismatics. And beyond monetary value, the 1993 1 cent offers a unique educational opportunity, allowing enthusiasts to study the minting process in detail, learn about die making, planchet preparation, and the meticulous quality control measures that are supposed to prevent such errors. And by analyzing the mistakes that slipped through, collectors gain insight into the production process, the mechanical limitations of coin striking, and the human oversight involved, making the coin a fascinating case study in industrial precision, error analysis, and market psychology. And it is also worth noting that while many pennies circulate widely and are used in everyday transactions, those that exhibit these rare 1993 errors were typically removed from circulation by collectors who recognize their potential value, further reducing the number available to the public and enhancing scarcity. And because of this, each error coin represents a tangible connection to the minting history of the United States, capturing a moment where chance, mechanics, and oversight combine to create something extraordinary. And as the numismatic community continues to discover, catalog the next 1997 1 cent USA coin today on our channel, where we dive deep into the fascinating and sometimes mind-blowing world of rare coins and numismatic treasures. And today we have something truly extraordinary to discuss that has captured the attention of collectors, investors, and history enthusiasts alike. A coin that at first glance might seem ordinary, something we see in our wallets every single day. Yet it holds a story and a value that stretches far beyond its face value. And that coin is the infamous 1997 1 cent penny, a coin that has recently made headlines for astonishingly selling at a staggering price of $11 million due to a combination of errors, mistakes, and unique characteristics that make it one of the most coveted pieces for collectors around the world. Now, when we talk about pennies, most people immediately think of them as nearly worthless coins that barely have purchasing power, often left on sidewalks, lost in couch cushions, or collected in jars to be eventually rolled up and taken to the bank. But in the world of numismatics, coins are not just currency, they are historical artifacts, representations of art, culture, and manufacturing processes, and occasionally, when something goes wrong during minting, these errors turn what would have been an ordinary 1 cent coin into an extraordinary treasure. The 1997 penny is one such example. And understanding why it commands such a high value requires us to explore the nuances of coin production, the types of errors that can occur, and how scarcity, rarity, and historical significance converge to create a perfect storm of value. To start with, the United States Mint is responsible for producing billions of coins every year. And while their production processes are highly precise, they are not immune to human oversight or mechanical glitches every step from the creation of dies, the engraving of designs, the striking of planchets, and the inspection of finished coins is an opportunity for subtle variations or outright mistakes to occur. Some of these mistakes are minor, such as slight misalignments or small imperfections, while others can be dramatic, including double strikes, off-center strikes, missing design elements, die cracks, repunched mint marks, or planch anomalies. These errors, especially when they are unusual and occur in a limited quantity, can create coins that are both historically significant and financially valuable. The 1997 1 cent penny falls into this category. What makes the 1997 penny exceptional is that it exhibits one of the rarest forms of minting errors known to collectors. This coin shows a significant misalignment in the striking process, where the die that imprints the image onto the coin shifted slightly during production, resulting in a penny that has an almost ghostly impression. Parts of the design are doubled, while others are faintly visible, creating an unusual and visually striking appearance that is unlike any other standard 1997 penny. Additionally, collectors have noted that some of these 1997 pennies also display a peculiar die crack along the rim, which not only adds to their rarity, but also serves as a signature of that particular minting batch. Die cracks occur when the metal die used to strike coins develops tiny fractures due to repeated stress, and when these cracks transfer onto a coin, they leave raised lines on the surface, making each coin with this feature unique. The presence of a die crack, coupled with the misaligned strike, means that no two 1997 era pennies are exactly alike, enhancing their allure to collectors who seek uniqueness and the thrill of owning something singular in history. Another contributing factor to the penny's value is the limited number of these error coins that actually survived in circulation during production. Coins that appear defective are often pulled from batches and melted down to prevent them from entering the general supply. However, a few slipped through quality control, ending up in the hands of everyday people who either did not notice the anomaly or kept the coins precisely because they looked different over time. As these coins were discovered and brought to the attention of the numismatic community, their rarity became evident. Rarity is one of the most important factors in determining a coin's value. The fewer examples of a particular era that exist, the more competitive the market becomes for acquiring one. And, in the case of the 1997 penny, it is believed that only a handful of these misaligned, die-crack coins exist, making it an incredibly scarce item that collectors are willing to pay enormous sums to obtain. Beyond the physical characteristics and scarcity, historical context also adds to the coin's value. The 1990s were a period of significant transition for coinage in the United States, with new technologies being introduced in minting and quality control. But these technologies were still in their relative infancy compared to modern precision equipment. As a result, certain batches from this era exhibit unusual anomalies that are no longer possible with today's automated processes. The 1997 penny thus represents a snapshot in time, a tangible connection to the history of the mint, and a physical example of what can go wrong in an otherwise highly controlled production environment. When collectors purchase a coin like this, they're not only acquiring a piece of metal, they are investing in history, in storytelling, and in the rare chance to hold something that almost no one else possesses. Furthermore, market dynamics play a crucial role in driving the value to levels as astonishing as $11 million. High-profile sales of rare coins often generate media attention, which in turn fuels demand and creates a feedback loop where the perceived value of the coin increases even further. Investors recognize these coins as alternative assets, and the combination of rarity, historical significance, and collector desire creates a perfect storm for extreme valuation. For example, auction houses specializing in numismatics often see bidding wars escalate quickly when a rare error coin is up for sale, particularly when the coin has been authenticated and certified by a reputable grading company. Certification not only guarantees the coin's authenticity, but also documents the specific errors present, ensuring that potential buyers know exactly what they are bidding on. In the case of the 1997 1-cent penny, the certification process revealed the precise nature of the misalignment, the die crack, and subtle anomalies in the metal composition, all of which confirmed the coin's uniqueness and justified the extraordinary price it eventually commanded. Possibilities for the coin's value to grow even further are numerous. As the numismatic market continues to evolve, and as collectors and investors increasingly look for unique, high-value items, the scarcity of this coin means that it is unlikely another will appear in the near future, making it a long-term store of value and a centerpiece for any serious collection. Additionally, the coin story continues to evolve as more research is conducted and more coins are discovered in circulation. Each new finding can add layers of intrigue and potentially increase interest among collectors, enthusiasts, and even historians. This makes the 1997 penny not just a static artifact, but a living piece of numismatic history that continues to generate excitement and conversation. The allure of owning a coin that represents an extreme rarity, a production anomaly, and a historical artifact combined cannot be overstated. It is the convergence of these factors: visual uniqueness, minting error, historical significance, scarcity, and market dynamics that pushes the value of a single 1997 penny to the mind-boggling sum of $11 million. Beyond the obvious monetary value, there is also an aesthetic and intellectual appeal to such coins. Numismatists take pride in studying the subtle differences between coins, identifying errors, and tracing the history of their production, the 1997 penny provides a textbook example of what can go right, or rather, what can go spectacularly wrong during the minting process, and owning one is akin to holding a piece of a puzzle that connects technology, history, and human oversight. Collectors also love to speculate on the reasons behind these errors. Some believe that the misalignment might have occurred due to a momentary mechanical malfunction when the coin blank was not perfectly seated in the press. Others argue that slight inconsistencies in metal composition or temperature could have contributed to the unusual impression. And there are even theories suggesting that the particular batch of pennies from which these errors emerged may have been subjected to irregular handling during production, adding to the unpredictability and rarity. Every coin tells a story. The next 2007 1 cent USA coin today, as we dive into one of the most unbelievable and captivating stories in the entire world of modern coin collecting, a story that begins with a humble 2007 1 cent coin, the kind most people walk past on the sidewalk or leave forgotten in the bottom of a drawer. But in this case, we explore the astonishing tale of how one particular 2007 1 cent piece became the focus of global fascination, climbing to an almost unimaginable value of $18 million due to a unique combination of unprecedented mint errors, mysterious production anomalies, and baffling circumstances that have left experts, collectors, historians, and treasure hunters debating its origins and significance. And as we welcome all of you watching this channel and joining the excitement, we journey into the tiny details of this coin's creation, the overlooked mistakes that transformed it from ordinary pocket change into a legendary rarity, and the extraordinary possibilities that make it so valuable. So let's dive deep into this extraordinary narrative and keep the energy high as we uncover what makes this coin one of the most astonishing numismatic wonders ever discussed, beginning with a strange sequence of events at the United States Mint during 2007 when production was booming. Automated systems were shifting, new quality control parameters were being tested, and thousands of tons of copper-plated zinc planchets were flowing through the machinery. A year when experts note that while overall the mintage was heavy and quality control was mostly stable, there were occasional anomalies that slipped through unnoticed, creating the perfect environment for rare varieties and dramatic mistakes. But nothing could rival the bizarre combination of errors speculated to exist in the mythical $18 million specimen, said to have characteristics so unusual that they defy ordinary numismatic classification. And when we talk about errors, we're not referring to the common misstrikes or die chips that collectors sometimes find in pocket change. Instead, we're talking about a once-in-a-generation convergence of issues like double striking, off-center alignment, rotated dies, improperly annealed planchets, exotic planchet composition anomalies, multiple die clash signatures, and strange over-polished fields that hint at late-stage die fatigue. But in this case, the fascination begins with the first major element reported about the coin, the off-metal planchet theory, where experts believe the coin may have been struck not on the standard copper-plated zinc planchet used in 2007, but on an experimental transitional composition left over from older batches or test material that might have remained in storage at the mint, a rare occurrence, but not impossible given the long history of misfed planchets. And this would already make the coin incredibly valuable. But what sends the excitement into another universe entirely is the possibility that this coin displays a spectacular double strike, in which the second strike was not only off-center but rotated at a dramatic angle, creating overlapping layers of Lincoln's profile, distorted lettering, ghosted outlines of the memorial design, and doubled or tripled impressions of the date and mint mark. Anomalies so dramatic that they would catch the eye instantly, even for someone who knows nothing about coins, and the unusual overlapping impressions reportedly reveal a fascinating relationship between the working dies and the planchet, indicating an extremely rare mint malfunction, perhaps caused by a temporary jam in the press, misalignment of the automatic feeder, or even a mechanical bounce strike, where the planchet shifts in microseconds between impacts, producing contours and distortions that appear almost artistic in their irregularity. But the story doesn't stop there, because some descriptions suggest the coin may also exhibit features of a broad strike error, meaning it was struck without the restraining collar in place, allowing the metal to spread outward more than normal, giving the rim a strange, stretched look, almost like a coin that wants to expand beyond its usual boundaries. And this combination of broad strike expansion and double strike rotation would alone make it a showpiece of extraordinary rarity. Yet in addition to that, the coin may reveal extreme die clash evidence where the obverse and reverse dies hit each other, without a planchet in between, transferring faint outlines of the opposing design into the die faces themselves, which then appear as subtle ghost-like impressions on struck coins. And when you combine these elements together, off-metal composition, broad strike expansion, double strike rotation, die clash remnants, you're not merely looking at an error coin, but a spectacularly rare numismatic anomaly with a constellation of features so complex that experts struggle to categorize it. And this ambiguity is part of what fuels the $18 million mystique. The idea that this coin transcends ordinary mint mistakes and becomes something closer to a natural marvel created by accident at the mint, a collision of mechanical failures and timing coincidences so improbable that it's like discovering a diamond formed inside a pebble. And the fascination increases when one considers the theoretical presence of microscopic doubling on the lettering around the rim, especially on Liberty, In God We Trust, and the date 2007, which might appear tripled or smeared if the die bounced or shifted during impact. And then there's the speculation regarding a possible multi-planchet strike-through, meaning that during the moment of striking, a fragment of another planchet or debris from the press may have partially obstructed the surface, leaving an indented impression or textured cavity in the metal that suggests an object momentarily fused between the die and the coin, creating a unique crater-like feature that would be impossible to replicate intentionally. And these kinds of strike-through errors are always thrilling because they leave behind shapes and forms that look almost organic, sometimes resembling fabric, wire, or shards of metal. And this adds yet another layer of intrigue when imagining why the 2007 cent in question could possess a combination of features never before seen together on one coin, and when you factor in the speculative rumors that the edges of the coin may have microscopic reading impressions despite cents being plain-edged, something that could occur only if the coin accidentally came into contact with machinery used for other denominations, perhaps due to mis-sorting or a temporary alignment glitch. Then the fascination multiplies further, leading collectors to theorize about experimental minting conditions, potential cross-feed anomalies, or unintended reprocessing procedures that could leave such markings on a cent. And when these small indicators combine with the larger dramatic errors, they create an aura of mythic rarity around the coin, turning it into something that transcends normal classification, and this aura contributes heavily to the enormous perceived value. Because in the world of high-end numismatics, collectors don't simply pay for metal. They pay for stories, for impossibilities, for mysterious historical pathways, and for anomalies that occur only once in minting history. And the belief that a 2007 1 cent could carry such a breathtaking list of errors makes it a treasure beyond logic, a coin that captures the imagination because it represents chaos within precision, a striking event that never should have happened yet somehow exists, and the possibility that it survived the mint's increasingly strict quality control procedures of 2007 only adds to the legend. Because for a coin with multiple dramatic errors, to slip unnoticed into circulation or storage requires a perfect storm of overlooked inspections, rapid production runs, and moments where human eyes simply weren't watching the machines closely enough. And this adds suspense when imagining how such a coin might have traveled from the mint into the hands of whoever first discovered it. Perhaps in a roll of freshly distributed cents, perhaps in a bank bag, or perhaps forgotten in a desk for years before someone recognized its impossible features. And then the story evolves into how collectors, appraisers, last 2005 1 cent USA, coin today as we dive into one of the most surprising, exciting, and unbelievable stories in the entire world of rare coins and valuable collectibles. Because today we are exploring how a simple 2005 1 cent coin, a penny most people would walk past on the street without even thinking twice, could end up being valued an astonishing and mind-blowing $11 million. And we're going to break down all the rare errors, minting mistakes, unusual conditions, and incredible circumstances that could potentially make such an ordinary-seeming coin worth such a life-changing amount of money. So get ready to stay focused and enjoy this deep exploration as we uncover why errors from the 2005 minting year continue to intrigue collectors, how the tiniest imperfections can transform a simple copper-plated zinc coin into an ultra-valuable treasure, and how small details that nobody notices at first glance can completely shift the value of a coin from 1 cent to a massive multi-million-dollar fortune. Because when we talk about error coins, especially from the mid-2000s, the possibilities are far more interesting than most people realize, starting with the fact that the United States Mint produced billions of Lincoln cents in 2005 across the Philadelphia, Denver, and San Francisco facilities, and with billions of coins being created at extremely high speeds. It is always possible that unexpected die cracks, misaligned dies, double strikes off-center, strikes, broad strikes, die caps, wrong planchet strikes, clip planchets, and even experimental metal planchets might slip through the system and find their way into circulation. And the idea that even a single extremely rare mistake could make a coin so desirable that collectors would be willing to pay millions is not as far-fetched as it sounds when we look at history. Because there have been countless examples of coins selling for huge amounts due to extremely unique errors and circumstances, such as the 1943 bronze cent or the 1955 double die cent. So when imagining a 2005 cent worth $11 million, we are really imagining the perfect combination of rarity, condition, error, complexity, collector demand, and historical curiosity all converging into one unbelievable scenario. Perhaps starting with a dramatic and unmistakable double die obverse, where Lincoln's profile appears ghosted or shadowed in a way that is crisp, strong, and visually striking. Something collectors love because strong doubling is instantly recognizable and extremely rare, especially in more recent minting years, or maybe the coin displays the powerful double die reverse in the lettering, particularly in the inscriptions like United States of America, 1 cent, or E pluribus unum, which would make it stand out and create a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity for collectors chasing modern doubling varieties that almost never reach dramatic levels. Or perhaps the coin was struck on the wrong planchet entirely, such as being accidentally struck on a dime planchet, creating a thinner, lighter, silvery-colored penny with missing design elements around the rim due to the smaller surface area, which is a classic and very desirable error in coin collecting. Or even more astonishing, imagine the penny being struck on a foreign planchet intended for another country's coinage. Something that has happened before during years when the U.S. Mint produced coins for other nations, meaning the metal composition, weight, and color would all be slightly or dramatically different, instantly causing immense collector interest and pushing the value to unbelievable heights, especially if the error were unique and confirmed by professional grading services. Or maybe this hypothetical $11 million 2005 cent is the result of a multi-strike error where the coin was struck 2, 3, 4, or even more times, each time at a slightly different angle, creating overlapping images of Lincoln or layered impressions of the reverse design. And extremely dramatic multi-strikes are among the most prized errors on the market because they show a clear journey of mechanical failure inside the press, telling a story frozen in metal that collectors absolutely love. Or maybe it was created by a die cap situation where the coin stuck to the die after being struck and then continued stamping other planchets, becoming increasingly stretched, distorted, and mushroom-shaped, resulting in a bizarre and extremely rare final appearance that is almost impossible to replicate. Or imagine the coin having a major broad strike without a retaining collar, leaving it wider, flatter, and more spread out than normal, or an off-center strike so dramatic that more than half the design is missing, yet still showing the date clearly. Because error coins that have extreme off-center strikes while still preserving the date are incredibly desirable due to their rarity and visual impact. Or maybe instead, the coin contains a striking combination of multiple errors at once, such as being both off-center and double struck, or both clipped and broad struck, or even triple struck on a wrong planchet. And when multiple errors occur simultaneously, especially ones that are visually dramatic and easily noticeable, the value can skyrocket beyond anything seen in regular circulation coins. And collectors are always searching for the ultimate error, the one coin that defies expectations and stands as a masterpiece of minting chaos. And if that coin happened to be from 2005, it could easily become one of the most famous modern cents of all time, driving its price into the tens of millions for the right buyer at the right auction, especially if the coin were authenticated in an extremely high grade, like MS-68 or MS-69. something nearly impossible for error coins because errors often suffer damage from circulation or mint handling. But if this hypothetical super error somehow survived in nearly perfect condition, untouched, bright, crisp, and preserved from the moment it left the mint, the combination of condition and uniqueness could push its value into historic levels. And when we imagine collectors bidding fiercely against each other, each determined to own the single most extraordinary 2005 cent ever discovered, the price climbing higher and higher until reaching an unbelievable $11 million starts to seem less impossible and more like a reflection of how deeply passionate and competitive the coin collecting world can be. And it's also fascinating to consider the storytelling potential behind such a coin. Perhaps it was found unexpectedly in a jar of change, or in a bankroll someone picked up casually, or maybe it sat in a drawer for years before anyone realized what it truly was. Because many of the most valuable coins in history were discovered by ordinary people who simply paid attention and recognized something unusual. And when we think about the 2005 penny specifically, we also have to remember that this was one of the years when die deterioration issues were common, causing die cracks, die chips, and extra metal in places where it shouldn't be. And while most of those are minor, imagine discovering a die crack so dramatic and perfectly placed that it completely transforms Lincoln's portrait or adds new, unexpected shapes to the reverse design, creating something so distinctive and artistic that collectors might consider it a once-in-a-generation minting anomaly, pushing its value even further. And then there are the extremely rare possibilities that rarely occur but are always part of the imagination within the coin community, such as a coin struck using a prototype die, an experimental alloy, or even a test strike that accidentally escaped the mint. And although such occurrences are almost never documented,